All right, so apparently there's this movie called Sound of Freedom, and it's making a lot of noise, all right, and garnering a lot of hatred for some strange reason. I'm just now hearing about the movie, all right? So we're going to get into it and see what's going on and why is it so much controversy surrounding it, all right? But before we get to today's video and all of this craziness, all right, I need y'all to help me unplug some more people out of the Matrix. And you do that by hitting the like button and making sure you go to the comment section and put hashtag unplugged in the comment section. All right? Subscribe if you're new. Let's go. Here we go.
On July 4th, the #1 movie in America wasn't Indiana Jones. Disney spent $300 million resurrecting Harrison Ford and releasing the summer blockbuster. But there's another movie dominating the box office. It's called The Sound of Freedom. And it beat Indiana Jones on opening day.
I like the title.
The film's based off the true story of Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security special agent who saved kids from an international sex trafficking ring.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
This movie zero.
Wait a minute. So this is what's getting a lot of backlash and it said smeared in the description. This is getting smeared? Why? Since when did rescuing kids from situations like that ever warranted any type of backlash? I don't get it. I'm totally lost. So let's see where they taking us with this one.
Quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
This movie zeroes in on the multi-billion-dollar human trafficking industry and honors a hero, someone who saved children from sex slavery. But to the media, this person isn't a hero. Someone who rescues kids from pedophiles is a villain.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
For some reason, the entire media is smearing this movie as a dangerous conspiracy theory. The press is saying that the star, Jim Caviezel, is a QAnon guy. And Jim plays Tim Ballard, which is strange because just a few years ago, the same media was celebrating Tim Ballard's heroics. Watch.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
Within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
So why is the media warning people not to see a movie about child sex trafficking that's based on a true story? Well, the Spear Fund founder, Tim Ballard, joins me now. So, Tim, why is the media hating this movie?
You know, I can't understand it. The film was made, produced, written like 5 years, 6 years ago, way before anyone heard the name QAnon. I still don't even know what QAnon is. In the meantime, they're trying to connect it to some conspiracy when, in fact, like you said, this is a true story. These are real kids. I mean, these kids are my friends. They're young adults now, the ones that were rescued. They're going to come out soon and tell their story. It's going to be very awkward when the mainstream media comes after these kids next and accuses them of being part of some conspiracy when, in fact, they were rescued from a life of rape. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in the media, perhaps.
I mean, this publication says The Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms, and that it fetishizes the torture of its child victims.
Make it make sense to me. I consider myself to be a pretty smart guy, right? Pretty smart guy. I'm lost on where the controversy lies in this. Where does it lie? You can go and get hundreds of movies probably. You probably sit down at your fingertips at your TV, hit your remote and see tons of movies like this where they're quote unquote, bringing awareness to this type of thing, to which he said in the beginning is $1 billion, and I could be misquoting, industry. So yeah, if you expect to make any type of headway of stopping this inhumane, sick, vile, just industry of just how you bring awareness to it. Maybe something that somebody sees in a movie, they may recognize as a location or something, or it may trigger them to pay attention more and see, and maybe see something, call police, and stop from happening. Like, I don't get where or what would make somebody truly, truly want to tear this down. Do you see some of the stuff that's on TV nowadays?
Is that what the movie does?
It absolutely does not do that. It tells a story based in truth. And, you know, what I think is happening, Jesse, I think that the left and these media outlets, they don't want to have a discussion that this film is going to compel. A discussion about why 85,000 children showed up unaccompanied at the border and got released into the interior of a country that is the highest consuming country for child exploitation material on the planet. They don't want to talk about why these same publications are pushing an agenda to change the word pedophile to minor attracted persons in order to normalize sexual activity with children. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, and they know this film's going to shine a light on all of the things, all the atrocities happening to children, and so they have to discredit it by lying about it.
So what would
Now, let me say this again. I have not seen the film, right? This is my first introduction to it, all right? So all of my reaction is based upon the probably 10 or 15 second clip that was shown and everything talking about being discussed in the movie. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm going to watch it. And then I'll be able to really come back and tell y'all, this is what I saw. And then we'll be able to proceed forward about all of the smearing that's going on from this movie.
their motivation be to discredit a movie that's trying to shine a spotlight onto atrocities committed against children?
Good question.
Well, if the truth of human trafficking and child exploitation were to be brought to bear, brought to light, then they would have to have a debate, a discussion that they don't want to have about, again, these policies around sexualizing children or allowing children to consent at a young age to do anything and everything, which would eventually include being, identifying as an adult perhaps and having sex with pedophiles. I hunt pedophiles. I've been hunting them for 20 years, and they are watching this and they're salivating. They are happy that Rolling Stones and The Guardian are ripping on a movie that exposes them. So I don't like the fact that these media outlets are, in fact, wittingly or unwittingly, running interference for human traffickers and pedophiles.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the movie yet, but now I want to see it because this thing made such a splash. Tim, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck at the box office.
If there's one issue that can bring Democrats and Republicans together, it's UFOs.
Why is the military and the government not just being honest with us? Why are they overclassifying it? Why aren't they being transparent?
They keep telling us they don't exist, but they block every opportunity for us to get a hold of the information to prove that they do exist.
Woo! Say that again. Say that again. Oh, he said that just so nice. He said that just so eloquently, and you know what I mean? He delivered that so well.
Exist, but they block every opportunity for us to get a hold of the information to prove that they do exist. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, dadgummit, whatever the truth may be.
Anytime somebody say dadgummit, listen, where I grew up in Georgia, anybody who said dadgummit really meant business. They were serious.
Exist. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, dadgummit, whatever the truth may be. We're done with the cover-up.
Dadgummit. The House Oversight Committee announcing a hearing with actual eyewitnesses for what the government calls UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. And the Biden administration this week admitting that these things are having an actual impact on our military.
Some of these phenomena, we know, have already had an impact on our training ranges for, when pilots are out trying to do training in the air and they see these things, they're not sure what they are, and it can have an impact on their ability to perfect their skills. There's something our pilots are seeing.
That's reassuring. Joining me now is Jeremy Corbell, investigative journalist and co-host of Weaponized. It's a podcast that explores the unexplained. Jeremy, what do we know about some things that pilots are seeing that I guess are interfering even with training missions?
Well, our government knows a lot about them, but the public does not. And the issue is really, it doesn't matter where these machines are from. We know they outpace, outmaneuver, and overperform any of our weaponry. We know they're not China. We know they're not Russia. We know they're not ours. So what we're looking to do is avoid strategic surprise. It doesn't matter where UFOs are from. What matters is we don't have a 360 view of what's going on in our airspace for the safety of our pilots, but also for the safety of America. So that's what this hearing is about, this unprecedented hearing, unlike anything that has ever come before.
Well, a lot of this...
Is it me, or does it seem like they're becoming more bold? Like, before it was sporadic. You would see one here, then a couple years later, you may hear something. Then nowadays, it's multiple times a year. It's once a month. It's, you know what I mean? It's way more frequent now than it used to be. It would happen before, and then you forget about it. And then somebody bring it back up. And you'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking about that conspiracy. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that conspiracy that happened before. Now it's like ever so often. You can't turn the channel. You can't pull up something on the internet, and it's another sighting. So, yeah.
Precedented hearing, unlike anything that has ever come before.
Well, a lot of the skeptics are saying, well, this is new technology that's coming from China or Russia. And Congressman Burchett had a really good retort to that claim.
If Russia owned it, they wouldn't be battling in Ukraine. It'd be over. China, they would control us. Even they pretty much do now, but even more so. It's either something that's extraterrestrial or something that we have in our skunk works and listen to the pilots. It defies all of our laws of physics. The human body would not be able to withstand the pressure from this thing. It's beyond belief.
Jeremy, I just want to hear more and more and more.
Great
on this.
point. Great point right there. Great point. I don't know why I didn't think about that. My brain's a little slow. Maybe one of those 2 drinks that y'all seen on my Instagram. I might have had one too many of those. But great point nonetheless. If Russia had that technology, this thing would have been over by them. It'd have been over. China, you know what they'd be doing. So explain. You can't. The walls is closing in on them. They got to come out and start saying what they think or what they've discovered or what potentially do they have. That's another thing I think, man. A lot of this stuff is happening because we may possess something that they want and they're trying to find it. Or we have something of theirs or one of theirs.
Yeah, look, all of America, the whole world is fascinated by this because guess what? UFOs have been a part of the human experience since before there was even a Pentagon or a Department of Defense. So this idea that it's just some technology built by another unknown nation, it doesn't hold water. So the question is, who's operating this craft? What's the intent? How do they have these performance capabilities? It's really important to understand this is not a new topic. You go all the way back to presidencies way back in the day, and people ran on tickets to tell the truth about UFOs. So it's about time, and we're getting closer and closer with every day. These hearings are historic. Firsthand, direct eyewitnesses, people that have actually engaged UFOs in combat situations, even training. So that's what we're going to see come next week.
Jeremy, can you explain for us, to the extent that you know this, how are these operating, from what they can understand, that defy the laws of physics, to put the pressure on a regular human pilot that would be unsustainable by the human body? Explain that.
Right. So that's a huge story, but essentially it has to do with the propulsion systems themselves. What I can tell you is what we're observing, not how it works. That's what we need to find out. What we're observing are objects that can go what they call transmedium, from space to air to sea, without any inertial effect. So they're able to go at right angle turns at thousands of miles an hour. This is something that we have radar footage, satellite footage of. The public deserves to know this exists. And then the question becomes, whose are they?
Well, doesn't it seem that we've been hearing about the pieces of things that seem like aircraft that have been recovered and are being examined somewhere, but we don't know? We think it's like the night of the museum. Like there's all these things that are talking to each other in the middle of the night. I know there's a movie about that. But where are these items? I'm not going to say spacecraft, but where are these vehicle pieces?
Senator Harry Reid pointed the finger at Lockheed, but there are a number of these holding facilities, and I hope we hear more about that when it comes to the hearings, because those places have been told to Arrow and other organizations.
All right, Jeremy, great to see you tonight. We cannot wait for this hearing. Thank you.
Relentless heat across the country. So relentless that it's been one of our top stories now for 2 weeks. Either the heat, the number of days of heat, or the number of people who are hot. More than 125 million Americans are under heat alerts. That's more than 1/3 of the United States population.
My pops is down here in Savannah area, over here, this part of Georgia, in Savannah. He just told me yesterday, I think it was 111 where he was. He said it was just so unbearable. Like, unbearable with what he was dealing with down there. It's crazy right now.
In the coming days, NOAA warns that the swath of the country colored red on this map will experience potentially hazardous heat. CBS News correspondent Carter Evans has the latest from Palm Springs, California.
As the unrelenting heat wave enters its 40th consecutive day, the temperature is expected to reach a record-setting 119 in Palm Springs, where hiking trails are closed, but road crews are still on the job. The pavement they're working on is 142 degrees. Jose Sanchez figures he'll need to drink at least 2 gallons of water to stay hydrated.
For the first 4 hours, you're okay, but then the last 4 hours, you got to take a lot of breaks.
No kids on the playground today, and you can understand why. The temperature here on the slide is 171 degrees.
Now imagine, think about it as well, right? The pavement being that hot. What you're going to see a lot of as well? A lot of tires. You know, people don't get their tires rotated and done and changed out. And it's, you know what I mean? It happens. You low on funds, you don't get your tires changed as often as you should, right? So the thread is low, they're ready. That rubber starts to meet that road and that heat, they're going to start popping. Those tires are going to start exploding on the road. And you're going to see a lot more of that happening too as well. Pay attention to that.
Further north in Death Valley, a 71-year-old hiker died after collapsing during his visit in the 121-degree heat.
121.
Meanwhile, in Phoenix, temperatures are staying in the triple digits, flirting with a new daily record. And heat-related ER visits are on the rise in the Southwest, up 134% from last week. So far this year, the heat's killed 18 people in Arizona's Maricopa County. The heat straining the power grid. Energy bills are predicted to jump almost 12% this summer. Just outside Dallas, AC repairman Jonathan Monreal can only answer about 4 to 6 calls a day. Today, he's fixing a unit in a 111-degree attic.
Sometimes, you know, you do kind of pat yourself on the shoulder and say that's a good job.
Carter Evans joins me now. Carter, Palm Springs is a vacation town. Are there any humans out actually vacationing?
Besides the news crew behind me right now, not really. There are not really many people outside, and that's one thing that I've noticed all day out here. The streets are empty. People are pretty much staying inside to stay cool. A lot of outdoor restaurants here, a lot of outdoor tables. None of them are full. We've got these misters here. That's helping out a little bit. Right now, it is 118 degrees.
They're wisely probably paying attention to those warnings. You mentioned that obviously when it's that hot, air conditioning is going to go up. The demand has gone up. What can people expect?
What did most of y'all keep y'all thermostat set to in your home? Put it in the comment section. Think about that. That's the temperature you want in your house. So a lot of people keep theirs around what, 70, 71, 72, 73 is somewhere around that area. And then you step outside and it's over 30-degree temperature change.
Effect in terms of their bills.
Yeah, so air conditioning really cranking across the country right now. This heat dome is so large, and there are some estimates that electric bills are going to go up about 12% this summer. So on average, people are going to be expecting to spend about $580 this summer, and that's about 12% more.
Wow. Carter Evans in Palm Springs, California. Thank you, Carter.
A Dallas couple who called 911 to report a kidnapping suspect was told they are not eligible for a Crime Stoppers reward. He was wanted for kidnapping and raping a 7-year-old girl. Their 911 call led to his arrest. Fox 4's Lori Brown has been working to get answers, and she's live in Dallas. Lori.
Clarice, having people spot a wanted fugitive and then call 911 to report him seems like one of the very reasons the Crime Stoppers reward program exists. But it turns out if you call 911 instead of the tip line, you don't qualify for that reward.
We both looked at each other and we both said, isn't that guy?
The Jordans were coming home from lunch July 7th when they noticed a face they recognized from the news and a Crime Stoppers billboard, 41-year-old Leonard Neal.
He had on the same outfit as one of the pictures that was circulating on social media.
With 6 children of their own, the Jordans had taken a good look at the man accused of abducting a 9-year-old boy and 7-year-old girl. Police say he released the boy, but the girl was missing for 12 hours. Police say he sexually assaulted her.
That could have very easily been our oldest 2 kids.
The Jordans did not just call police. Once Neal got on the bus, they knew they needed to follow it. After getting disconnected from 911, a Dallas police officer called Kenyatta Jordan.
And once we made that right on Pope, he said, "Oh, that's y'all in that minivan." I'm like, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, well, we pulling up right behind you, so y'all can get out the way now."
Before police arrested Neal, he cut his throat. Police later released this mugshot.
I felt confident that it was him, but I just wasn't 100%. But then I let the window down, and I heard him on there screaming. I said, "That's him, baby. That's him."
Later, the Jordans learned about the Crime Stoppers reward that had been offered for Neal, a most wanted fugitive. But when they asked about it, they were told they were not eligible because they called 911 instead of the Crime Stoppers number. Does it seem like a bait and switch?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We dialed 911 instead of the Crime Stoppers phone number. We're not able to get the reward.
As police work to build trust with the community, the Jordans say this feels like a breach of that trust.
It feels like we were misled.
On DPD's website, it urged anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers or 911. Crime Stoppers is operated by the North Texas Crime Commission, a cooperative partnership. Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia told us in a statement, while DPD does not have input on the criteria that must be met for a Crime Stoppers reward, when a unique set of circumstances arises, we certainly can open up conversations that will help improve services, prevent crime, or help solve investigations in our city.
See, this is my issue with it, right? Don't you want to continue to encourage people to call? Don't you know in certain places it's shunned upon for people to call 911 is considered snitching and all this type of stuff like that? So you want to enlist more help from the public. Like you need more help from the public, right? So why not just say, okay, normally we wouldn't do this, but this is not how we would prefer to do it. But since y'all did take the initiative and be brave, because that's what it boils down to. Them being brave enough to call y'all and turn this person in. We've all seen the situations where people turn people in. Word gets out that they're the ones that turn someone in, and now their life is in jeopardy now, right? We've all seen that type of situation happen. So that discourages people from wanting to call or turn someone in. Even if you try to do it anonymous, people still have gotten found out about, right? So if you want these people to continue to do that, then come on, man, just the incentive. Give them an incentive to do that. That's all I'm saying.
The Jordans are hopeful that will happen in their case.
They should be held to their word.
I just got off the phone with a Crime Stoppers board member. He said that the rewards are only paid to people who call the tip line based on Texas law. The Jordans believe they tried to...
It's something they're not. We don't know. It's got to be something we don't know that's making them say that. It's got to be.